Hey everybody, I'm Toussaint Morrison. Welcome to the Social Science Club. Let's just jump right into it. Active listening and why it is of value. So first off, I'm going to start this video with a story. So I was on tour with the band, I believe it was in 2009 or sometime back in the day. And we were playing a show in a very small bar. And we had a drummer who had a lot of drums. He had a whole, I think like 4, 5, 6 toms, I think. And it was a loud set. And he, for some reason, couldn't hear himself. He was playing too quiet. So he started to play louder. Well, the guitarist at that point, he couldn't really hear what was going on. So he turned up his amp. Well, then the drummer couldn't really hear what was going on. So he started playing even louder. I then looked at the sound person and I said, which meant crank the monitors up, I can't hear myself. So the monitors get cranked up. And now at that point, we are all so damn loud that guess who can't hear us at all? The audience, the people that came to see the show in a small room. But it was a great show for what it was worth. And what happened was we got into a battle of not listening to one another. And essentially what ended up being the result of it was nobody could hear anybody at that point. And everybody just kept one-upping. And when people were trying to listen just for themselves, what they're saying or what they're performing or what they're doing, then the sound got pretty erratic and chaotic. And the collaboration got disrupted. It imploded, essentially. I say that story in the spirit of when people are having conversations, or even when they're texting, or even when folks are just hanging out maybe in a nonverbal situation, in that you're sharing space with one another. How do you share that space with somebody without making it all about you, without only focusing or concerning or centering yourself? When we talk about active listening, we're talking about sharing a space with somebody and then also designating that space for us to not be in, for us to be empty and receive the person that is actually in the room with us. So when I go into it in a music setting, when we talk about active listening, the why of it, the why it's important is because think about yourself. When somebody listens to you, and they congratulate you on what you just said, or they get engaged with the story, or they ask you more questions about that story, you feel heard, you feel seen, you feel valid, you feel human, you feel you. So the why of it is, you know how it feels to be heard and seen and listened to. And it's a great feeling because you're reciprocating with another human. You're bouncing back and forth. And when you're not being seen or heard or feeling that you even exist in a room with somebody, that's a pretty awful feeling. You feel invisible. And when we talk about active listening, it's recognizing that somebody is there with you and they are actually receiving what you're saying. And they hold it of value. They value what you're saying. So the why of it is very simple. You know what it's like to feel listened to. You would love for somebody else to feel that way when they're around you, correct? The how to do it is the tricky part, because many times, I'm sure that you've been in a conversation where you've heard what somebody has to say, and you keep hearing what they have to say, and maybe 15, 20, maybe even 30 minutes later, they then say, oh, you know what, I've been talking this whole time, tell me about you. And you sit there and you're like, I don't know if I have anything to say, because I've been listening to you this whole time. So there's this disparity in listening to one another, but you want to have some type of reciprocal nature with that. So the how is how to actively listen. One is to not talk. And so I did a workshop on active listening at a group setting. And the one thing that we had to do was not say anything. And all we could do was nod and was just give gestures, gutturals back and forth. And they say some of the best communication between a theater director and the set designer is just all gutturals. It's just somebody's talking and the other person's like, wow, okay, And that's when you know that you're getting somewhere with somebody, when you're talking about a set design and, you know, connecting between a director. But when you're just talking to a friend, sitting there and advocating for them as they're speaking, just you know, okay. That's one part, is just the not talking. It's just not inserting yourself at all, or asserting something happened just like that to me. Oh my God, that was like on Wednesday, and it's like, okay, we know that happened to you, but let this person relay their story. Let's center their story. Let's get that in, okay? Before you assert yourself. Number two The second part on how to actively listen is clarification. My hearing isn't the best all the time. From touring with the band and not wearing earplugs, sometimes I don't necessarily hear what people have to say. And there used to be a time where I was just a passive listener and I would just fake like I heard what they said because I didn't want to interrupt them and I didn't want to upset the flow or anything. But actually, what I wanted to know was, can you repeat that again? I'm not quite sure if I heard that correctly. And I do that all the time now because I just want to know what that person said. I'm actually invested in the story and the words that they're saying. So I will ask, wait, did you say that one more time? And I will say that a lot. And the people that know me understand that that's just how it is sometimes. And it might disrupt the flow. It is what it is. But they know that by me asking that question, it's because I'm invested in the actual story and I want to know and learn more about what they're saying. Then the third and final how of active listening that I've learned, and I think that could benefit you as well, is ask questions. Okay, so wait, then how did that make you feel when they said that? Like, get invested in the story. This is a book that is it's a living, the person that you're reciprocating with is a living human, like living, breathing human being. Like, they're right there. You can ask them questions. Like, do you know how many questions I would ask Michael Crichton when I'm reading one of his books? Whoa, why'd you explain it like that? But you have this person in front of you, you can actually ask questions. Now, obviously, you don't want to disrupt the flow too much and keep asking questions and divert them from the actual story that they're telling or how they're like relaying their day to you. But the other thing is that you can actually get more invested in the details of what they're saying. Oh, wait, so, and how they felt about the events when they're explaining it. So, yeah, then they rear-ended me. Whoa. What? How did you feel? What was the first thing that came to your mind when you got rear-ended? Oh, well, da-da-da-da-da. Okay, tell me more. Go on. And it happens all the time. So you can ask further questions to open up the story more. And I do that all the time because I'm actually very interested in people's stories and what they're saying a lot. And so I get very interested and fascinated, not to the point that it's nosy, but I get interested and fascinated in the stories that people tell. And I always ask further questions on, how did that make you feel? What was the first thing that came to your mind? Okay, but is everything okay right now? Just so I can understand that everything is safe and cool right now before you finish the story. Yeah, everything's fine now, but okay, cool, go back to the story. So those are the how. Now I'm gonna go back to the why again here, why this is of value. And this is a very near and dear story to my heart. So my grandmother, who passed away, when I was sitting talking with her, and we were having some of our final conversations, and she was in a nursing home, I knew that this would probably be the final year or final 2 years or one of the final 3 years that I would have with her. And what I would do is we would sit and talk and I would write down everything she was saying as if it was a scribe that was, soon to pass away. And I just needed to write down the story before it happened. Because our living stories, they only travel through the people that we tell them to. They only travel with the people that we tell them to. And my grandmother's story, as amazing as it is, it would have disappeared had I not sat down with her as much as I did and actively listened and tried to play Nintendo Wii sometimes. But that's a story for another time. But listening to her tell her stories, the value of it is that I understand this human who has passed away and is no longer here to tell that story. And guess what I get to do? I get to tell those stories to my nephews and to my kids down the line. And that is the value of it. And when we go into griots, when we go into books, when we go into archives, when we go into history books, a lot of that are stories from active listeners and active observers as well. But that is the value of active listening, how you can do it, and also how it could lead to a better musical performance as well when you start listening to the people around you, or at least arrange a plan to listen to each other better. So I hope that you're able to engage in active listening a little more and, as best you can. And I hope that it benefits you and everybody else around you because it has for me. All right, that'll do it for this video. Click like if you found this of value. Click subscribe if you haven't already. We appreciate you being here. We'll see you in the next one.